That time of the year has come again, and Samsung just released two of their main stars of the show, the Galaxy A35 and the Galaxy A55. We are only gonna focus on the A35 in this review, so let's get into it. This review is prepared with the AXBB firmware build number, as I only got the March update after finishing the script for this review. So let's get started with the design. Now, many people will look at this phone and immediately say, hey, it looks basically identical to the A55, and you're actually right. They both have the same shape and size, and they also have this weird bulge at the side here around the power button and the volume keys, and Samsung calls this the key island design, which I actually like. However, the key difference is that the A35 uses a plastic frame. It's not a problem for me, and this phone actually I think just looks better without all of the antenna lines on the frame itself, as the lilac color just goes all around it uninterrupted. And speaking of the colors, this one is available in 4 colors, and exclusive to the lilac color is this special reflection pattern at the back. It reminds me of the Note 10 series with the reflective color. Some people may like this, but some may not. It's really up to your own personal preference. If we're getting it in the ice blue color, then it will look like this. It's a very light tinge of blue, and if we look at it from the back, this phone just kind of looks like the S24 Plus. But of course, the S24 Plus is also a lot thinner than the A35 and A55. The A35 uses a 6.6-inch Super AMOLED screen with up to 120Hz refresh rate and also 2340 by 1080 pixels in resolution, which is pretty typical for a mid-range smartphone nowadays, and the color accuracy is actually good. It covers 99.77% of sRGB and 87.33% of DCI-P3 color gamuts, while having an extremely low delta E number, which is unbelievable in this case here. The maximum brightness is at around 990 nits, and that's actually really good. We have conducted this test with the Vivid color profile, and there is no vividness slider, even though this phone is indeed running on One UI 6.1. Now, the screen is one of the major points of controversy because this phone's bezels is just real thick. I'd argue that it is better looking than the A34 with that V-shaped drop notch here, but if we're gonna compare with just the phones within this price range that you can buy today, then yeah, the bezels on the A35 is definitely thick. Now, many of you might say that the Galaxy A35 is pretty much just a rebranded A54 from last year, and I can definitely see why, because it is using the same chipset as the A54, the Exynos 1380. Now, this chipset is a year old right now, and all of the games that we have tested in our gaming test that you can watch at the top right corner there have already optimized for this chipset. I will also safely say that this chipset's performance is at its peak already because of a year of optimization. Even while it is thermal throttling, we can still get close to 30 FPS at low or lowest graphical settings, and the results is not the best, but it's actually okay. The thermal limit of this phone is at 47 degrees Celsius, and that means it will be kinda toasty if we're gonna play games on this phone for an extended period of time. As for the cameras, there are 3 of them on this phone here, but I'd only consider 2 of them to be usable because that macro camera, even though it is a 5 megapixel sensor, the quality coming out of it is just horrible because it doesn't have autofocus. As for the 2 other cameras, let me show you how they look. I took this phone to Taiwan, and of course I took a lot of pictures with it. And it is still considered to be quote-unquote winter in Taiwan, so the weather was chilly and also somewhat cloudy, so some of the pictures will look dark, but that is actually what we are seeing with my own 2 eyes. I did realize that the white balance in outdoor shots isn't always accurate, as certain shots look a bit more blue than it is supposed to be, but some shots are absolutely fine. Indoor shots look great, and I'm liking it so far. As for night shots, I actually think that it is good, and in some ways I think I might like the night shots taken by the A35 more than the S24 Ultra, because the pictures do not have those excessive noise issues, but that dynamic range though isn't that aggressive. The ultra-wide angle camera is a rather disappointing one. It's the same 8 megapixel sensor as the A34, and the pictures that it takes is just, well, in certain scenarios it looks okay, but when the night comes, that's where the ultra-wide angle struggles a lot. The colors are good, but the details are just messed up. Videography is another thing that I want to highlight on the A35. It can take up to 4K 30fps or 1080p 60fps, and the stabilization is, I would consider it to be fine. I filmed this video while walking along the street at night and it was actually freezing as it was very windy, and the video still looked great even though my hands were kind of shaking. And yeah, there are some jitters in this video as well, but again, I'll consider it to be okay. The battery life is also the same as last year, so it has a 5000 mAh battery and it can last for about 12 hours and 35 minutes in our standardized battery life test, which is to be expected. It's nothing out of the ordinary here, honestly. The charging speed also remains the same as the previous generation, as it can only accept 25 watts maximum via USB PD PPS, and it takes around 82 minutes to charge from 15% to completion. But oh, the A35 also has the battery bypass feature, so you can watch our video at the top right corner there to know more about this feature. It's actually very useful. Now, the software in the Galaxy A35 is an interesting one. It is running on the latest Android 14 with One UI 6.1, and it also has all of the features that we have previously mentioned, but the Galaxy AI menu is just not found here. What important features it does have though is Samsung Knox. So it's a platform that is built into Samsung phones that we don't directly interact with, but it protects us from the background and also out of our sight. For example, if you want a private folder for all of your darkest secrets, then you can use a feature called Secure Folder. It's a sandbox within the main system that you can log in a separate Google account into, download apps, and also save files that are only accessible within the Secure Folder itself. In collaboration with McAfee, we can also turn on something called App Protection, which acts like a malware scanner in our phone. And we can also turn on the Auto Blocker feature, and it prevents any sort of site loading. And honestly, I think this is a magnificent feature, and I turn it on for my mother's phone, so she don't accidentally just download anything that is sent over by a scammer. Yay! Samsung also promised 4 generations of Android OS upgrades and a total of 5 years of security patches, and I think this is still the longest software update policy for a phone around this price range. And a few more things to mention before we end this review. The Galaxy A35 has a USB 2.0 port at the bottom and also no display output via that port, which is to be expected. It also lacks audio jack, but there is a microSD card slot or dual SIM support. And just like before, the A35 is certified for IP67 dust and water resistance. Then the question comes, should you buy the Galaxy A35? Honestly speaking, I think the retail price of 1,699 ringgit is rather high. So my advice to you is to not buy them at full retail price unless there's actually gifts that are useful to you, or just outright wait for a discount, as Samsung phones are perpetually going on sale anyway. Some of you will also ask if the Galaxy A35 can last for 4 years, and I think it can. Day-to-day usage is fine, but it might not run the latest and greatest highest-end games smoothly. Samsung does have a track record of providing timely updates, and combined with its software update policy, this phone is going to last for 4 years if it is kept in a good physical condition. Yeah, that's a very important point to highlight. And that's all that we have for you in today's video. If you are interested to get one for yourself, then I will leave you all of the links down below in the description. And also leave your questions, if you have any, down in the comment section as well. And do remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video where we review the Galaxy A35, which is right here. Yes. Yeah, we'll see you there.